Hi, and welcome back to my stories on how I started a food business. I've now moved on to the growing of the business, and today's topic is on food safety and hygiene. In the previous episode, I touched upon food quality control using ASAP. In this episode, I'm just going to focus mainly on the basic food hygiene law here in the UK. The first thing to know is that food safety regulation states that food must be of the nature, substance and quality demanded by your customers. It must not present any risk to health, and it must be fit for human consumption. So here at Beautiful Foods, what we do is to have policy in place. We have a policy in place stating, as a proprietor, I sign it, stating my commitment as a food owner to make sure that I'm committed to protecting the public from poisonous food. So once you have that policy in place, you would need to follow certain rules. The first one is under the food safety and hygiene rule is personal hygiene rules. This affects mainly your food handlers and your staff. They must be trained to know that there are certain things that is permitted in the food industry. For instance, upon entering the food production, you must wash your hands thoroughly. So you train your staff on how to wash hands and when to wash hands. I'll be touching on this in the next episode under cleaning. So the next thing to note under food safety law is they have to wear protective clothing, because outdoor clothes can accommodate germs and harbor bacteria. So when you come into the food production area, you must have a food apron or something to protect the food from your outdoor clothing. The other area of protective clothing is hair. You have to keep your hair covered because hair do shed. You know, like my hair, I don't know, in dry season, is always falling, into combs and onto the floor. So if I don't keep it covered, I might end up poisoning people with my hair in their food. So you have to keep your hair covered, and also they must keep cut. If maybe you have an accident, you have a knife cut or something, you have to have plasters. In food industry, we use waterproof plasters, usually blue color, because blue is easy to identify if at all it falls into food. And also at Beautiful Foods, we have a register whereby we keep a list of staff coming in that have got caught and have plasters coming, so that you just monitor the plaster, so that when the staff come in the morning, they have plaster on. When they are going in the afternoon after their shift, you ensure that they still have that plaster on, because if it's falling into the food, then there's trouble in the air. So you must make sure that you follow the plaster through, because even though it's waterproof and everything, it might still physically contaminate food. The other thing that you have to know is nails. False nails are not allowed in the food industry. You cannot have nail polish as well, and you must keep your nails short so that fingernails don't cut into the food. The other area is jewelry. The only jewelry accepted or permitted in the food area is wedding bands. Simple wedding bands, no diamonds, no stone, nothing, just a simple band like I'm wearing now. This is the only jewelry that is allowed in the food production area. The other thing that you have to note is the area of illnesses. Your staff must be trained to report illnesses. For instance, if they have diarrhea, they are not allowed to work with food, because they might contaminate that food with their illnesses, or maybe it's a virus or something as even serious as Ebola. You cannot permit such staff to handle public food. The other area that you have to know under food safety will be things like pest control. I'll cover that in a separate episode. There's also cleaning and disinfection. You have to be able to not just clean, but thoroughly clean, and also sanitize to kill off all the germs on your food surfaces that have contact with food. I will also touch on this in a separate episode. There is cross-contamination also that is very important in food safety. This also will be dealt with in another episode. The final one is temperature control, how to use temperature to ensure food safety. This is another topic that I will expatiate more on another episode. Thank you very much for watching Beautiful Foods channel, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye. Hi, and welcome back to my stories on how I started a food business. I've now moved on to the growing of the business, and today's topic is on food safety and hygiene. In the previous episode, I touched upon food quality control using ASAP. In this episode, I'm just going to focus mainly on the basic food hygiene law here in the UK. The first thing to know is that food safety regulation states that food must be of the nature, substance and quality demanded by your customers. It must not present any risk to health, and it must be fit for human consumption. So here at Beautiful Foods, what we do is to have policy in place. We have a policy in place stating, as a proprietor, I sign it, stating my commitment as a food owner to make sure that I'm committed to protecting the public from poisonous food. So once you have that policy in place, you would need to follow certain rules. The first one under the food safety and hygiene rule is personal hygiene rules. This affects mainly your food handlers and your staff. They must be trained to know that there are certain things that is permitted in the food industry. For instance, upon entering the food production, you must wash your hands thoroughly. So you train your staff on how to wash hands and when to wash hands. I will be touching on this in the next episode under cleaning. So the next thing to note under food safety law is they have to wear protective clothing, because outdoor clothes can accommodate germs and harbor bacteria. So when you come into the food production area, you must have a food apron or something to protect the food from your outdoor clothing. The other area of protective clothing is hair. You have to keep your hair covered, because hair do shed. Like my hair, I don't know, in dry season, it's always falling, into holes and onto the floor. So if I don't keep it covered, I might end up poisoning people with my hair in their food. So you have to keep your hair covered, and also they must keep cut. If you have, maybe you have an accident, you have a knife cut or something, you have to have plasters. In food industry, we use waterproof plasters, usually blue color, because blue is easy to identify if at all it falls into food. And also at Beautiful Foods, we have a register whereby we keep a list of staff coming in that have got caught and have plasters coming, so that you just monitor the plaster, so that when the staff come in the morning, they have plaster on. When they are going in the afternoon after their shifts, you ensure that they still have that plaster on, because if it's falling into the food, then there's trouble in the air. So you must make sure that you follow the plaster through, because even though it's waterproof and everything, it might still physically contaminate food. The other thing that you have to know is nails. False nails are not allowed in the food industry. You cannot have nail polish as well, and you must keep your nails short so that fingernails don't cut into the food. The other area is jewelry. The only jewelry accepted or permitted in the food area is wedding bands. Simple wedding bands, no diamonds, no stone, nothing, just a simple band like I'm wearing now. This is the only jewelry that is allowed in the food production area. The other thing that you have to note is the area of illnesses. Your staff must be trained to report illnesses. For instance, if they have diarrhea, they are not allowed to work with food, because they might contaminate that food with their illnesses, or maybe it's a virus or something as even serious as Ebola. You cannot permit such staff to handle public food. The other area that you have to know under food safety will be things like pest control. I'll cover that in a separate episode. There is also cleaning and disinfection. You have to be able to not just clean but thoroughly clean and also sanitize to kill off all the germs on your food surfaces that have contact with food. I will also touch on this in a separate episode. There is cross-contamination also that is very important in food safety. This also will be dealt with in another episode. The final one is temperature control, how to use temperature to ensure food safety. This is another topic that I would expatiate more on another episode. Thank you very much for watching Beautiful Foods channel, and I will see you again next time.